Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole stack of sources, articles, personal accounts, you name it, and we pull out the core story for you.
And today we are diving into a life story that is just, it's defined by these unbelievable extremes.
Yeah, we're talking about discipline, desire, and this shadow of digital permanence that just won't go away.
Exactly. Our sources tell the story of Tericka Dye. You might also see her name as Rikki Andersin or Tara Myers. And her career path is, well, it's something else.
It really is. It starts in the super rigid world of the U.S. Army. She was a military police staff sergeant.
And then it shifts dramatically into the adult film industry.
And then, after all that, she tries to build a completely new life as a public high school science teacher. It's an incredible convergence.
It is. Just that first jump from MP to a best new starlet, as she was called, that alone suggests this intense internal conflict.
She actually said it best herself. She described it as a double addiction, porn military. It's this need for strict order, fighting with this need for, I guess, total freedom.
And that phrase, that's really our mission today. We want to unpack what was driving her to these two opposite poles. The control of the Army versus the total openness of the adult industry.
And then, the critical part. What happens years later when that passed, which was perfectly legal, just refuses to stay buried.
Yeah, and ends up costing her the very career she had fought so hard to rebuild.
And we should be clear, this wasn't just a brief phase. She went back to these fields more than once. She used the GI Bill, got a bachelor's degree, then a master's in prison administration.
She did everything right on paper, which is what makes the conflict that follows so dramatic. She was really trying to build something solid.
Okay, so let's get into that intense duality, starting with the military uniform.
Right. So she's in the Army for 7 years total. She's an MP. She's stationed at Fort Lewis up in Washington.
And she worked in what has to be the most high-control environment imaginable, right?
Yeah.
An all-male prison, the regional confinement facility.
And the sources are really clear about what drew her to the military. She thrived on the intensity. She loved the physical demands, the whole always be all you can be lifestyle.
The discipline was a plus for her.
A huge plus. The drug-free requirement, the rigor. It was all about pushing herself to be the best. But that same structure came with the suffocating level of control over her personal life.
Ah, okay. So that's the flip side.
Exactly. She hated the restrictions. Who she could or couldn't sleep with, which places were off limits. She put it really bluntly. She said, "You're a soldier 24 hours a day and a person no hours of the day."
Wow. No personal boundaries at all?
None. And that, it seems, is what pushed her to find a world with zero boundaries, which brings us to the pivot.
The adult industry. As the complete opposite of that control, it was, a way to express her sexuality out in the open.
That's exactly how she framed it. Her words were, "In the Army, it was always a secret. I don't want it to be a secret. I want it to be open. I want the world to see." It sounds almost like an act of defiance.
The fine act of self-ownership, yeah.
And what's wild is how quickly her military past and this new world collided. Even back then, her first real audience was the military itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She tells this story about May of '98. A friend of hers finds her picture in a Penthouse review at a bookstore right outside the base PX.
Oh, no. I can just imagine how fast that news would have spread.
Like wildfire. She said within 1 hour, the entire Fort Lewis base was like a fire. Even as she was trying to leave that life, it was already intersecting with her past.
And that kind of attention, I'm guessing that's what gets a producer interested.
You guessed it. A producer named John T. Bone from Cream Entertainment Group. He saw her military background not as a problem, but as the perfect marketing hook.
Of course he did.
Bone had made something like 400 films. He needed a new angle. He saw her as raw, as straight out of uniform. He didn't want a fantasy. He wanted the real thing.
So he leaned right into it.
He planned it all out. Wrestling videos called Hardcore Championship Fucking, and these military-themed movies like Major Slut. One of them featured her with an ex-Navy starlet.
So he was obsessed with the contradiction, the idea of this danger and skill she had as an MP.
Totally. He famously said, "Rikki is real pretty, but I know that she can kill me." He didn't just want the uniform as a costume. He wanted to rent actual weapons because she could strip them down and reassemble them, for real.
He wanted the authenticity of it.
Yeah, he said she brought an element of violence and danger that he needed to keep his work fresh. The industry didn't just tolerate her past, they sold it. It became her brand.
But she didn't want that to be her final chapter. She did leave, And the sources give us some really important context on how she got into the industry in the first place.
Yeah, this is crucial. This was around 1995. She was only 22.
And her situation was pretty dire.
Beyond dire. She was an exotic dancer in California, but she was also homeless, unemployed, and a mother of two, and she was trying to get treatment for her personal issues.
That completely changes the narrative. This wasn't some casual career choice.
Yeah. No, it was rooted in pure desperation. And she later revealed that, at the time, she was suffering from undiagnosed bipolar disorder, which just made everything 1,000 times harder.
And she was very open later about her regret.
Very. She said she had screwed up royally and had absolute 100% regret doing that.
So this is where that military discipline kicks back in, but in a different way. She uses it to power this comeback story.
A huge comeback story. She's not just hiding. She is actively trying to build a serious public-facing career. She uses her GI Bill benefits and just hammers away at her education, gets a bachelor's from Murray State University.
And she didn't stop with a bachelor's. She went on to get a master's degree in prison administration.
I mean, think about that. That's a serious field.
Yeah.
It requires a high level of integrity, of stability.
It's so demanding.
And she excelled. One source says she tested tops in the state for a civilian job in the Kentucky State prison system. She was qualified, she had the degree, she had the MP background. The job was right there for her.
But she didn't take it. She chose teaching instead. Science teacher, volleyball coach, using the names Tericka Dye and then Tara Myers.
Yeah, and you have to wonder why. Why choose the vulnerability of a high school classroom over the relative security of the prison system, where her background would have been a huge asset?
It feels like she wanted to make a different kind of impact. Maybe show students that you can overcome just about anything.
That seems right. She used her discipline to build this respectable second act. But, as it turns out, the world of education was a lot more sensitive to her digital past than corrections might have been.
And that's where her new life and that digital past have their first head-on collision. It's 2006. She's teaching science at Reedland High School in Paducah, Kentucky.
And someone at the school finds out about her past. The fallout is immediate.
She was suspended, banned from even being on school property.
And then her contract wasn't renewed. And this happened even though apparently a lot of teachers and parents were on her side.
The official reason they gave for firing her, this is the part we really have to zero in on. Right. They said her past would be a distraction to the learning environment. That's a really important word, isn't it?
It's critical because her past work was legal. It never would have shown up on a criminal background check.
So it wasn't about her performance as a teacher. It wasn't about a crime. It was about the school's fear of
what?
Public opinion, disruption.
Exactly. It was about the institutional fear of how it would look.
And she fought back. She argued that overcoming everything she'd been through, the poverty, the mental health struggles, that actually made her a good role model.
She even went on the Dr. Phil show to make her case nationally. She really tried to force a public conversation about second chances.
But it wasn't enough.
No. She eventually dropped her lawsuit against the school system and just left Kentucky in 2007, forced to start all over again.
And then the ghost follows her. Fast forward 4 years to 2011. She's now Tara Myers. She's in Missouri, teaching science and coaching volleyball at Parkway North High School.
And this is where the reality of digital permanence just smacks you in the face, the way she was discovered this time.
It wasn't an adult who found it.
No, a student got curious, found the video footage online, and asked her about it.
Just a curious teenager with a search engine. And a life that took decades to rebuild gets torn down in an afternoon. That's terrifying.
It is. She requested administrative leave, she resigned. The district paid her through the end of the year, saying it was out of respect for her privacy. But this whole incident, it also uncovered a huge systemic failure.
What was the failure?
Well, when the St. Louis district hired her back in 2007, they did their reference checks. They called the Kentucky school system she'd just been forced out of.
Yeah.
And the Kentucky school said nothing. No mention of the suspension, no mention of the adult film career. They didn't flag that she was let go for being a distraction.
So the official system that's supposed to vet people, it failed completely.
It failed because the issue wasn't illegal. The official reference check was, either incomplete or maybe deliberately vague. But the information was still out there on the internet for anyone to find.
Which now acts as the real background check.
It does. The St. Louis spokesperson said it perfectly. Talking about the video footage, he just said, unfortunately, even though it happened 15 years ago, it is still there.
Okay, so let's step back. What does this all mean? This whole deep dive, for me, it just reveals this brutal conflict between someone's dedication to evolving, getting degrees, fighting mental health battles, and the fact that a digital past is just permanent. It never goes away.
It forces a really tough question on all of us. When we decide if someone is fit for a public role, like being a teacher, what's the standard? Is it their current actions, their qualifications, or is the mere potential for their legal past to cause a distraction enough to disqualify them?
Because in both cases, the schools were worried about the information getting out, not about the legality of what she did. Her career wasn't ended by the law. It was ended by the fear of disruption.
And that really changes the whole idea of a second chance, doesn't it? In the past, you could move away, time would pass, shame would fade, but digital permanence means there's no moving away. Time doesn't erase anything.
You can get a master's degree, you can test at the top of your field, but none of that matters if a student can find a 20-year-old video online.
So if you're an institution, a school that's supposed to be teaching kids about growth and forgiveness, how do you draw that line? Is it really fair to fire someone when a student does the real background check that your official process missed?
It leaves us with this really provocative thought. If the main goal is to prevent distraction, and the main source of discovery is curious students, are we essentially asking teachers to have a past so perfect it can survive the endless searching of a bored teenager with a laptop? What does the story of Tericka Dye truly mean for anyone trying to redeem themselves in the age of eternal data? Something for you to think about.